Heyo everybody, Haku here with my read-through for Magical Girl Raising Project, or Mahou Shoujo Ikusei Keikaku, episodes Zombie Western. My last freaking read-through for episodes. And then we'll be through that and we can move on to Limited. But the way I was planning to do this, / the way it's going to work in the future, is from April, I just said it in the recent Q&A, from April, from now on, starting now, Tuesdays are going to be Magical Girl Raising Project Day, and on Tuesdays I'm going to have the next video for that up. The way I was planning to originally do it is I wanted to have this up sometime this previous weekend, so that this Tuesday I could do my video on my favorite characters from Magical Girl Raising Project, updated to include the characters from Restart. And then the Tuesday after that, I would do my reactions to the character designs for Limited, like I did for Restart. And then the first read-through for Limited would be the Tuesday after that. But since this is a little bit late, I'm posting this on Tuesday, as you can see if you're watching it the day I post it. Posting this on Tuesday, and later this week sometime, I'll do the top characters video. I don't know if it'll be Thursday or Friday, but it'll be sometime later this week, a couple days after this video. And then next Tuesday, I'll do my reactions to the, this next Tuesday. I don't know how busy I'm going to be after this weekend, but I should be posting my reactions video to the character designs next Tuesday. Then the Tuesday after that, we're going to start the first read-through of Limited, and we're going to be doing that every single week on Tuesdays. So just thought I'd let you know we have an actual schedule, and we're all set up now and ready to go before I read this last one. So yeah. I'm excited for those videos and excited for Zombie Western, even though this is going to be one of the ones that, like I said, we saw it adapted in the anime, even though there are likely going to be some differences and some added stuff that we didn't get to see in the anime. But either way, let's check it out. Zombie Western. This story is set during Magical Girl Raising Project. Magicaloid 44 was a sly magical girl, opportunistic, always looking for a way to come out on top. Calamity Mary appreciated that. I really enunciated that. Holy crap. I appreciated that. However, it wasn't enough to be opportunistic. You also have to act upon your opportunism. If you see a chance, you have to take it. So, for Magicaloid to want to pair up with Mary, she'd have to be able to prove herself to Mary. Kill a magical girl, said Mary. That was the conditions. Mary would only work with someone who was willing to do what's necessary. Truth be told, there were plenty of other partners that Magicaloid could have allied with. Winter Prison would be the one she'd think of first. The girl is powerful, and strong in combat as well. Too bad she's burdened by that fool of a woman, Sister Nana. Magicaloid came to Mary because she felt that Calamity Mary could offer asylum, safety, and sanctuary. Well, safety and security. Well, security isn't easily earned. It has to be proven. It didn't matter if it was her appearance. The fact still hasn't changed. If Magicaloid won't kill, she'll be nothing but a burden to Mary. Calamity Mary laid down on the sofa, lit her cigarette, and puffed a whiff of smoke. She was waiting for Magicaloid to reply on her magical phone. Mary was curious. Who would Magicaloid target first? There were some choices. West Winter Prison and Sister Nana. That would probably be suicidal. Although Magicaloid knows Nana, so she could just lure her into a trap. It's her partner that's the problem. Top Speed and Ripple, the one pair Mary hoped Magicaloid didn't go for. Mary wanted to kill Ripple herself. She could have top speed though. Her jet boosters could probably keep up with that witch's broomstick. Although Ripple wouldn't trust her. Swim's group, another suicidal attempt. 4-on-1 wouldn't be the best way to go about it. Mary didn't really know what Swim's group was capable of, but after the amount of candy she got, she felt like she could sense a betrayal in that group. Clamberry, secluded in the forest, possible target. The problem is finding her since she barely talks in the chats. Finally, Snow White. Snow White had just lost Lapicelle. She's weak, she has low fighting capabilities, and she has the most candies. Snow White has a target on her back. If Mary was Magicaloid, she'd go after her. Mary's phone rang, a text from Magicaloid. I found someone. Perfect. Mary gave the A-OK and waited once more. Any time now, Magicaloid should reply back. Any time. Taking a long time for her to reply back. Snow White really that hard to take down? Snow White is a naive, idealistic weakling. She doesn't look like the fighter type. Mary texted Magicaloid, but after a few minutes there was no reply. She's getting frustrated. Magicaloid shouldn't make Mary frustrated. She'd hate that. Nobody crosses Calamity Mary. No response at all. Fine. Mary contacted Fav, who appeared immediately, projecting himself from her magical phone. What's up, Pone? Magicaloid. Where is she? Isn't that your responsibility as a mentor, Pone? Calamity Mary brought the magical phone closer to her face, staring at Fav. Don't play games with me. Where's the damn robot? It's an honest question, Pone. Besides, Magicaloid's got a phone, right, Pone? She hasn't replied. Two things could happen, then. She's probably busy, or the other thing, Pone. Is she dead? Announcements don't happen until later, Pone. I can't tell you who's dropped out now. Be patient, Pone. Calamity Mary closed her magical phone. If Snow White somehow killed Magicaloid 44, then Mary had to make sure that Snow White was dead. Killing Magicaloid 44, Mary's apprentice, was an insult to Calamity Mary. Nobody insults Calamity Mary. Ako Hatoda had been saved. When she was on the verge of suicide, a magical girl came down and helped her. It wasn't even something profound, it was just giving her back her lost house key. But that one act meant so much to Ako. For someone who had to bear the weight of her father's sins, Ako had felt like she shouldn't be alive. She already planned to commit suicide. She planned it for days now and was ready to go through with it. She didn't want anyone to be burdened by her. But then that magical girl, the white magical girl, came to her to help her, to take time off her busy day to make someone like her happy. Ako realized that this is what she wanted to do. She no longer wanted to commit suicide. She wanted to help people. She wanted to make them smile like she did. She wanted to help the white magical girl too. She did research and found a rumor of a social game, Magical Girl Raising Project. Rumors state that some players may become real magical girls. She begged her uncle for a chance to get a new smartphone. Once she did, she immediately downloaded it on the phone, or downloaded the app, I guess. Because she wanted to impress the white magical girl, she believed that a contrast in colors would be good, designing her character to be dressed in all black in contrast to the white dress of the white magical girl. The white magical girl wore a classic Japanese sailor uniform, so Ako would contrast that too, a European schoolgirl uniform, but she didn't really know much of Europe's school life, so she took inspiration from the one book she remembered reading, Alice in Wonderland. Designing her clothes and color scheme to look like this was perfect. Now for a name, Hardcore Alice. And I love the metal, the sudden metal turn of Hardcore Alice. And she began playing the game, hoping that her wish of meeting her would come true, and it did. Fav, the mascot of the game, made her into a real magical girl. When he explained her powers, Fav told her that she had extremely fast regeneration abilities. Alice tested this, poking a needle in her palm only for it to heal. She began using sharper equipment, leading up to a chisel stabbing her forearm. All injuries were healed. Alice hadn't dared to try something more dangerous. The self-harm is reminding her of her past suicidal tendencies. The experiment should prove that she can heal through anything. Now it was time to meet her mentors and find the white magical girl. The white magical girl. Finally, she met her. Her name was Snow White, and Alice had just saved her. She found her in an alley. Alice wanted to approach her, but she ran away. Then Alice was taken by surprise. Her head fell off, just like what the Queen of Hearts wanted to do with the real Alice. That didn't matter, though. As her attacker, the robot magical girl seemed dangerous. She seemed like she was going to kill Snow White. Magical girls have enhanced strength and skills, Pone. Remembering Fav's words, she stood up with her headless body and pierced through the robot's chest. The shock must have gotten to Snow White as she collapsed afterward, while Alice began to heal her decapitated head back to her neck stump. Alice's powers really worked. Despite losing her head, Alice didn't die. Alice had only tested her powers using injuries, but fatal ones can apparently be survived. That's right, Alice had brought Snow White home. She asked Fav for directions to her house, placed Snow White on her bedside, and placed the lucky rabbit's foot in her palm. The lucky rabbit's foot, a special item that Alice bought using her lifespan. Although Alice will potentially live a shorter life, it didn't matter to her since it would ultimately be used to save another life. That's right, Hardcore Alice was happy. She had repaid her debt and helped her savior. However, it doesn't mean her job is over. She still wanted to pair up with Snow White to become partners. Then she remembered. Snow White had a partner. According to Sister Nana, they often met up at a steel tower near the beach. If someone tried to kill Snow White and found her in an alley, then someone could be waiting for her the next time she would meet that partner of hers. Alice rushed to the steel tower as fast as she can. She needed to protect Snow White, to look out for her. What I really like about this is we're seeing scenes that we saw in Unmarked and in Unmarked and in the anime, but we actually get to see, instead of seeing them from Magicaloid and Snow White's point of view, we're actually getting to see them written from Calamity Mary's point of view and Hardcore Alice's point of view, which is really, really cool. So it's like taking the same scenes, but I like that we're getting to see a brand new take on them. Continuing onward, though. The steel tower near the beach seemed empty. No one was there, but Alice had to make sure it was really safe. She climbed the roof of a nearby elementary school in order to get a better look at the steel tower. In the moonlight, there was nobody that seemed to be waiting for Snow White in the tower. After scanning the location from the top of the school building, Alice felt relieved. There was nobody waiting to ambush Snow White. That's when she heard a loud bang. She felt her stomach get pushed and explode. She had been shot. That sound came from a gun. The gigantic hole in her stomach proves that. The Izmashi Saiga 12, a weapon created in a cold country. It was known as a shotgun to most of the world, belonging to the same family of guns as the AK-47. It's a powerful semi-automatic rifle. That's different than a shotgun, but either way, each shot should be enough to kill someone. But this one was a special version of the weapon, a version that was enhanced by the magic of Calamity Mary. Calamity Mary had waited in Snow White's designated meeting spot when she saw a magical girl sneaking about. And we have... This is actually a really cool looking illustration. Hardcore Alice getting shot there. That's actually a really, really cool illustration. Unsure of whether or not it was Snow White, Mary took a closer look at the girl, taking care to keep quiet. It turns out that she wasn't Snow White, but nevertheless had come to Snow White's meeting place. Who was this girl? Mary hadn't recalled seeing her in the chat room. She asked Fav on her name. Fav replied that her name was Hardcore Alice, the 16th magical girl. Well, looks like Hardcore Alice will have to die. She shot her in the stomach to watch her bleed to death, as she stepped out of the shadows grinning. However, it looks like Alice just felt the hole in her stomach and began to run over towards Calamity Mary. Her internal organs were sloshing about in that hole, a trail of blood everywhere. She shouldn't even be alive, but Alice, with a hole in her abdomen, ran straight for Mary. Alice threw a punch that Mary easily dodged, followed by a kick that was blocked by Mary. Every bit of movement would swing Alice's intestines and organs away, but Alice didn't seem deterred by the gigantic hole in her stomach. Whatever this magical girl's deal is, she can endure a lot of pain. Mary had decided it was best for her to immediately die. Alice was quite reckless in fighting, obviously not used to it. She waited for her to push her body forward, and when she did, Mary placed the Saiga on her temple and pulled the trigger. This is interesting, because in the anime I remember a difference from this. In the anime I remember Alice was actually really good at hand-to-hand fighting, because I'm pretty sure way back when the episode first aired and I first watched it, I was surprised. I was like, wow, Alice is a really good hand-to-hand fighter. And I think later on in the anime, I don't remember any other fights she was in particularly. Maybe it was just the standoff that her and Snow White had with the Peaky Angels, not a real fight, but even then I remember her being good when it came to like physical hand-to-hand fighting and stuff. Either way, the surrounding blast blew off her head. Bits of her skull and brain splattered around the rooftop of the elementary school, and bits more rolled down to the ground. Also, this is something you can't really get from the anime because of all the gore here in this very descriptive story. Her face was a mangled mess, and the top half of it was gone. The Calamity Mary enhanced bullet completely blew her head away. Now headless, Mary sighed as Alice's body collapsed in front of her. As Mary placed the gun back inside her four-dimensional bag, which she bought from Fav earlier, she felt something grab her ankle. Not possible. She saw a headless Alice, a hole still in her stomach, at the bottom of her feet, grabbing her ankle. Calamity Mary instantly reacted by kicking Alice's headless torso away. She pulled out a rope from her four-dimensional bag, enhanced it in order to make it near unbreakable. Thanks to being a cowboy-style magical girl, she can twirl that rope like a lasso. As Alice's headless body attempted to stand up, Mary tied her up with the lasso. Pulling the body towards her, she began hog-tying the girl's body. Then, she pulled out her Saiga 12 shotgun and she began meticulously shooting the body over and over again. Bang, 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 bang. The blood and bullet holes were all over the headless body of Alice. She could even see the holes pierced through the rooftop of the elementary school. Mary waited, and Alice's body began twitching. Son of a bitch. Mary took out something from her four-dimensional bag. It was a grenade. Like all the other weapons, it was enhanced as well. She pulled the pin and stuffed it into one of the many bullet holes in Alice's body. Calamity Mary jumped away, and the large explosion rocked the school building. With a fiery blaze, she saw flames emerge from the rooftop. She had to make sure. Mary jumped back into the rooftop and saw the large hole that her grenade had made. The hole led straight toward a classroom, and directly underneath that hole was the mangled body of Alice. The body had little to no limbs left. The black shirt was stained red, and many of the bullet holes had increased in size. A pool of blood had formed in the floor as well. To any other person this would be overkill, but Mary had to make sure it was even a kill in the first place. She jumped down the hole and looked at the mangled torso of Alice. She waited for any slightest bit of movement. It didn't move. It looked like Mary had finally killed her. Finally. Then the torso twitched. Some muscles began moving. Shit. Mary's eyes widened. She was angry. What was this girl? She won't die. How dare this new magical girl insult her like this? Calamity Mary pulled out something from her four-dimensional bag. She had packed many, many weapons inside the bag, and not all of them were guns or offensive weapons. This one she saved for really powerful opponents. Some liquid in a bottle. A very dangerous liquid. Sulfuric acid. She poured the acid on Alice's torso as it began to wriggle and squirm. Parts of it began to melt and disintegrate, and Mary had enhanced this acid as well. Smoke began to form as the acid reacted with the body's skin. Eventually the powerful acid had disintegrated the floor as well, and meaty chunks of what used to be Alice fell downward down the hole. The hole led to a stairwell, and chunks of Alice were still down there. Mary had found a particularly big meat chunk, and she watched and waited. Then it began to wriggle and roll. Why won't this bitch die? Mary aggressively stomped on the gigantic meat chunk. She stomped it until her face went red, but no matter what she did, it still lived. Calamity Mary screamed in frustration. She took the meaty chunk and found other bits and pieces, limbs and other parts of Alice, and placed them together in one big pile. Mary took out a large oil drum from her four-dimensional bag. The bag, though the size of a pouch, was able to carry almost anything of any size. She dumped the entire contents of gasoline into the pile, took out her lighter, and set the pile of body ablaze. She watched and watched, waiting for the bodies to turn to ashes, but the flames didn't seem to do their job. That's when she realized something. The meat chunks that she left alone had grown back a part of their skin, and the blood was almost gone. They were healing. A frustrated Mary then realized the slow burning death wouldn't work, as the healing factor of this hardcore Alice was too fast for that. So, Mary had another plan. Still in chunks, still in meaty bits and pieces, she put out the flames she had created, grabbing the chunks of Alice and placed them into this now empty oil drum. She heard the sound of sirens. Must either be the police or fire department. Satisfied with the amount of bits and pieces of Alice that was inside the oil drum, Mary escaped the elementary school. She went toward the docks. She ripped out a large piece of concrete from the asphalt, and then she placed it inside of the oil drum, crushing the meaty bits of Alice, but also weighing the oil drum down. Now, for the final part, sealing the oil drum. She threw it as far as she could from the docks toward the sea. She saw it as it sank away, the meaty bits of hardcore Alice still inside. Survived that. Calamity Mary grinned. Finally she can relax a bit. Finally, that black-dressed gothic Lolita is as good as gone. That was really, really good, but really, really sad. Very brutal, very descriptive. Either way, let's finish this out. Next few days, Favid announced the eliminations of the week in the weekend chat room. Just as Mary thought, Magicaloid had been killed. However, that was the only name that was ever mentioned. Where the hell is Hardcore Alice? The more Mary thought about the logical conclusion to her thoughts, the more frustrated she became. She contacted Fav on her magical phone. You called, Pone? Where's Alice? First you look for Magicaloid, then you look for Alice, Pone? What's the rush? Is she alive? Alice is doing just fine, Pone. I know you had a quick visit with her, Pone. Don't be discouraged, though, Pone. Hearing those words made Calamity Mary lose her focus. Her head was spinning. She felt slightly dizzy. That troublesome little girl. She was still alive after all that. Calamity Mary laughed. She laughed loudly, and it echoed throughout the VIP lounge. She took a big swig from her drink. A toast, then. To the bitch that won't die, she said as she downed her drink. You seem displeased, Pone. Are you going after her, Pone? No, I won't. As much as I'd love to, I've got bigger fish to fry. Calamity Mary didn't want to make Hardcore Alice be on her list of targets. She had already formed a grudge against Ripple. Her focus shouldn't be on Alice. If Alice wanted to fight her, then she can fight her. Right now, she had to find a way to lure Ripple and that annoying mentor of hers. Mary turned on the TV. The news reporter was talking about a congestion issue on the national highway. Gears began to shift in Calamity Mary's head. As she grinned in anticipation, she knew exactly what she was going to do next. I like how much this episode has focused on Calamity Mary's point of view, showing how all these things that we saw happen in Unmarked and in the anime came to be because of what Calamity Mary was thinking. Alice didn't come home that night. She instead went straight to Weiss Winter Prison and Sister Nana. Nana had contacted Snow White in order to meet up, and Alice wanted to meet with Snow White again. She originally planned to introduce herself, but Snow White had blacked out. Afterward, she planned on waiting near Snow White's house so that she could see her and properly introduce herself once she finished scouting at the Steel Tower. But that cowboy made it difficult. On one hand, she was glad that the full extent of her powers was known. It looked like the largest chunk of her that would regenerate new bodies and limbs. Regardless of how many little chunks that Alice was reduced to. She didn't exactly want to test the limits of that, but supposedly, so long as a piece of her remains, she can heal back. Sister Nana was shaking hands with Snow White in the distance, while Alice hid behind Winter Prison, still a bit shy to make her first move. Sister Nana promised to introduce them, as she was her mentor. For now, however, she was still talking with Snow White. Winter Prison glanced at Alice. You okay? I'm fine. Why? You smell like seawater. I took a swim in the beach. Winter Prison raised her eyebrows suspiciously. Alice looked back at her with a blank expression. She could tell that Winter Prison didn't fully believe Alice. Winter Prison shrugged and nodded. Well, whatever suits you, I guess. Hardcore Alice nodded as well, and went back to looking at Snow White and Nana. Now was the time to introduce herself. After all the struggle of trying to find her again, Hardcore Alice can finally meet Snow White. Very, very good. Like I said, I kind of discussed it throughout reading, but I liked how we got to see Calamity Mary's point of view, even though she's an evil, horrible bitch. We got to see how what she was thinking and planning led up to all of this, all of the things we already saw happen. I like seeing things from Alice's point of view as well, like the scene of her rescuing Snow White from Magicaloid. So all that was good. I've enjoyed reading all of episodes, even though it took forever. And I'm excited to get back to doing this weekly. So like I said, I'll have the character video up later this week, probably. Next Tuesday probably is when I'll be doing the limited character reaction. And then every Tuesday after that should be the limited read-through. So I'm excited to get into a new story with new characters and new suffering for me to be sad at and like disappointed that characters I like are dying. But either way, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did like the video, comment down there. Tell me what you thought of this chapter, episode, whatever, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more Magical Girl Raising Project, much more on the channel. I'm going to be reviewing Magical Girl Sight, the anime, weekly as well. if you subscribe. Follow on Twitter if you want, and I can try to keep you updated there on stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server to talk with me or more of us there, just ask and I can give you a link to that. So that's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.